Welcome to my house podcast. It's a new day, it's a new venture. What is a better way to talk about entrepreneur and in Somaliland and generally in Somalia? What is a better way to find someone who have been really investing hugely in Somaliland with his other colleagues? Willie, welcome to the my house podcast.
Khader, thank you so much for having me today.
Well, the first question we ask mostly everybody come here. Yeah. You know what it is. So what's new for you?
For me, I guess it's the excitement again of being back in Hargeisa. I've been coming here for the last 10, 15 years, and I've been coming more consistently the last 3-4 years. So every time I'm back here, it feels great.
You have been investing from airline to an accountant to real estate. Why Somaliland?
And it's an interesting question. I guess for me and for others like me, this is home. And it all started with that initial journey back, many years ago to come back to Somaliland. And, initially the purpose was to visit family. But then having been doing some business overseas, in particular Australia, where I'm currently based, and I've gained a significant experience in business. I've come here and I've actually, I saw some good opportunities to invest in, and that's where it all started, and it's been going ever since.
So the first question is, what do you do in Australia?
Australia, I have actually a few businesses over there. I have actually, I can count, I have 2 businesses in different sectors, in the services sector, I think the other one is actually also closely related to, but it consists of auditing services on international standards. I'm also a practicing lawyer in Australia, which I've started actually in the last year or so. Prior to that, I've worked in the oil and gas industry for about 15 years. I'm originally from the UK, as you know, and I've immigrated to Australia with the oil and gas industry many years ago. But in recent years, I've started small businesses which have now actually taken off very successfully, alhamdulillah. And at the back of that, I like to keep myself busy. So I've developed a passion for law. So I actually studied law and I've managed to gain my practicing certificate.
So you're a lawyer now.
Yeah.
So coming back to Somaliland, give me the journey when you come. I remember the first time you come with other colleagues, and you have been traveling corner to corner.
Yeah.
So just remind me, for the first trip you come here, with a big car, 4x4 Land Cruiser, with a tent, and even you have the chips, the yogurt, all the way shipped from Australia. I mean, tell me that journey.
That was actually a very interesting journey, and it actually bonded our connection to Somaliland. So what happened was myself and 2 of my friends from Melbourne, Australia, we decided to come here, and our hobby is actually camping, in the bush in Australia. So we decided to send this Land Cruiser with all the tents, with all the camping equipment, the barbecue, the fridge, and all the tools that we needed. And we sent it here. We picked it up from Berbera, and then we went up and running. So we went to Sayla. We drove from here all the way to Sayla, and we camped along. We camped along the way, and then we went to the islands as well, Saadin, Bad, and then we made our journey way back to Hargeisa. Again.
So stay with me. There was a story amazing. One of your colleagues was telling me. You went to Sayla.
Yeah.
Right. There was a fish everywhere. Yeah. But you cannot find a fish in there. What was that story?
It was an interesting experience, but it was also actually a very disappointing sort of encounter, because having reached Sayla, we were actually very hungry. I mean, obviously we've been just traveling, camping, and
how many hours is that?
Oh my God! It took, I think. It took 11 hours to get there. We left 3 p.m. Hargeisa. I think we arrived at 9 a.m. the following day.
Okay.
I think we spent the night. 2 a.m. we had to camp somewhere because there was basically a checkpoint where you couldn't get across. So we had to camp, put up our tents. And so when we reached Sayla for lunch, we said, look, we want fish. This is a historical town. you know, we want to try some fish. Obviously, we can see the sea and the fish is just there. And they said, no, we don't have any fish. The fishermen are not working. You've got basically rice and hilibari, you know, which is basically the meat.
Yeah.
And we were so disappointed, and we were like, surely this, you know, there has to be some fish here.
All right. Interesting. That was really interesting to see the sea and there's no fish. Yeah. And then you come back again.
Yeah.
And then where did you went again?
So we came back. And then we spent a couple of days in Hargeisa. Then we drove to our final destination was actually Arigabo and Dalo Mountains. So we went through Berbera, Bur'o. Our car broke down in Bur'o, so then we left Bur'o at I think our car broke down, and 8 p.m. we left. Around 8 p.m. I think we left Bur'o, went straight to Arigabo. We reached Arigabo. There was an interesting story that happened along the way. At 2 a.m. I think we arrived at the checkpoint in Arigabo, and nobody knew who we were, so we actually got arrested. But it wasn't really a full arrest. Yeah. It was more like we just need to confirm your who you are, for the security, to do some IDs and whatnot. But it was a good experience actually. The police officers were very nice.
And you can't call 2 o'clock anybody.
You can't call anybody at that time. So the following morning, you know, they let us go. And then we made our way to Dalo Mountains, which was an amazing experience. I would encourage anyone, if they have the time, to visit Arigabo. It's an amazing place. We spent a night there. We camped in Dalo Mountains. It was really nice. And then in the morning, we went to Maid. So we spent a couple of hours in Maid on the coast.
So you went all the way to Maid, right? In the sea, yeah.
Yes.
And how was that?
It was amazing. It was amazing. We actually went to the, obviously the mixed in with the locals. Had lunch there. We did a bit of swimming, and then we went to the tomb as well. We went to the grave, all these famous graveyards.
Graveyards from Shahar to Isa.
A lot. It's very fascinating, to see the history and where these famous granddads are buried. Yeah. They call it. I think Hoig Owoyashim is
that's what they call Arigabo. Yeah. Okay, come back again. That was a journey you really enjoyed. Then you start the business.
We looked around, in areas that we could potentially invest in, and we've highlighted few or identified few areas.
Great. So now you have the experience. Yeah. Now you landed in the country with your other friends. Yeah. Then what did you come up with it? So
one of the areas that we thought we could potentially go into was starting up a small airline business that could help and also help the movement of people to these remote locations such as Arigabo. And we fell in love with Arigabo. So we thought, look, there's also a Bur'o where it takes almost, just over 6 hours by road. Sayla is pretty much isolated in the middle of nowhere, I guess. So we've decided to, embark on this project of small airline business.
So that's when Dalmar born.
Yeah. So Dalmar Air, at the back of that trip, Dalmar Air was born, and yeah, it was a long journey to bring that to life.
All right, so you come up, you say, okay, there's no airlines go to Hargeisa to Arigabo. Maybe this is a business opportunity there, right?
Yeah.
And when you find it, how long did it take you to come up with the idea to be in action?
It actually took almost 2 years. There was a massive planning on how we could actually execute this project. There was a lot of planning into it. So we had to do some market research. There were a few other actually airline companies that came to Arigabo, and they didn't last long, So we knew there were some challenges there, but we also had to go and identify a particular aircraft is suitable for this environment. And our journey took us to Canada, Montreal, where we ended up purchasing the aircraft from. Then we had to basically move that aircraft from Montreal to Hargeisa.
Wow, all the way from North America?
All the way from North America. And it was very costly, process in moving the aircraft from Canada to Hargeisa. And then also the registration part, which was extremely challenging.